This is the Rebel Scum Podcast. Available in video on YouTube and audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Every week, Brock and James talk the latest rumors, news, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. Support us on Patreon for exclusive offers and join the Star Wars discussion. Patreon.com/RebelScumPodcast. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
You're always scum. Rebel scum.
Boom! Rebel Scum Podcast, episode 296. This is Brock. And this
is Teenage Mutant Ninja Space Turtles. James.
Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Woo! We are in spoiler country, folks. So if you have not watched the last episode of Ahsoka, episode 8, I won't even see the title because I noticed for the first time ever, Disney Plus does not drop that title until probably 12 hours, 24 hours. I don't know. In the thing, so you cannot have anything spoiled until you're watching that. So
episode 8 of Ahsoka. Ezra dies. So, what a title.
This is your last warning. I don't know why else you would be watching us at 10 o'clock at night, but this is your last warning. Boom. Episode 8. First question that we always ask, James, what was your initial, what is your feeling after watching the entire episode?
I really liked it. Obviously, of course, the lightsaber fight I thought it was fantastic. I will say, I do have one issue with it, Brock. Can I bring up my big issue with this episode?
Go for it.
Here's my big issue with this episode. Is I love the episode, but I knew it was going to end in a way that wasn't an ending, right? I think everyone kind of expect, especially when you don't get Thrawn until the end of the season. It's not going to have a very final ending. It had a decent ending. My issue is with that ending. It's almost how do I say it? It's like a bit of a letdown because this is why. No, hear me out. Here's why.
No, continue.
Because we don't know anything about a season 2, if it's happening, when it's happening, we know he's getting a movie. Is this just leading into a movie? And then I feel kind of ripped. And so that was my one thing. Is like in the old days, even Mandalorian season 1, we knew we were getting season 2 at one point. Remember, right when the finale aired, they're like, we're starting season. So like my one criticism would be that because we don't know if we're getting more, it's like, all right. Like, but if like when they're like season 2 is coming, I'll be like, okay, I'm great on that. Because I loved how they left everything off, but it's almost like, all right, where's the rest of it now?
Yeah, no, it's like we do this podcast for a reason together, James, because we are usually on, like, I was the same. Don't get me wrong. Great series. This goes toe-to-toe with first season Mandalorian. No problem. But, and I'm going to rewatch it. I'm going to watch this probably 2 or 3 times the next month.
But next week.
Here's my problem. This is something you always say, James. It's like, a story needs a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And as much as we know that all this content, this series relies on, you have to watch Clone Wars, you have to watch Rebels, you have to basically watch Mandalorian. Like this season, I do have a PS to this, but like this season is like it's very good visually. It's amazing. It's the step in the right direction for Star Wars. And I'm all for like breaking the status quo in Star Wars. But at the end of this episode, I'm like, if I don't know Rebels, then why am I even shook? I love Rebels. We know this. So it's just like, wow. But as just a viewer of someone, like maybe someone that has no idea, like my wife hasn't totally watched all of this. So I do know someone who has watched all the episodes like in the last 48 hours prior to today and said this was fantastic. And I've never watched Rebels or Clone Wars. And I don't know I'm curious to hear their thought on this last episode because I would say this is not a great conclusion. It's a great conclusion and like I want more. But I don't feel like a new viewer will know why Thrawn is that big of a deal outside of like he seems like a cool villain, and why it's good that Ezra has now returned to the main galaxy. Like we had no time with them.
Yeah, it almost so last week you couldn't do the show because you were working the losers we'll call it, but you're working so couldn't with Carson Teva. So you're working the so you could so I did a show alone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to talk specifically about Ahsoka, but I kind of did Andor versus Ahsoka. That was like my thing. It's like, because I think they're both fantastic, and I was like, I couldn't completely go in any direction because there was no ending for Ahsoka yet.
Yeah.
I can say this. I think as a Star Wars fan, I prefer Ahsoka. I think. I mean, I have to marinate on it because here's the thing: when Ezra built his lightsaber, and he just lit it. And he was just standing in the little nook with the lightsaber on. I'm like, yeah, I love lightsabers. And so this show has that, whereas Andor doesn't. Andor had a better, and the Andor finale wasn't my favorite, but the Andor ending was significantly better. Like it was a cliffhanger. Like it kind of leads you into the next season, which we knew we were getting, but it also kind of felt like the season had an arc. Like I felt like that season ended, where this one. Every episode this season's kind of felt like, okay, we're going to the next one. We're going on to the next one. We're going on to the next one. And now there's no next one. And I feel empty about it. So I think, I again, like I said, as a Star Wars fan, Ahsoka, this lightsaber stuff this episode especially, the Morgan Ahsoka lightsaber fight, I don't care who you, that was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, that's great.
And then like me and Stormtroopers, the Night Troopers were amazing. They finally did what we all kind of, I think, thought they were going to do with them. Mm-hmm. It had like so much going for it Star Warsian. But Andor, I think, as a series, separating like just as a series, I think it was just stronger in that regard.
Yeah, it's like you're like, what is the first season of Andor about? It is about this. What is Ahsoka about? I'm not quite sure. Like, I don't want to be critical of the actor who portrays Ezra because I think he did it right. As if Ezra has been on pause for the however long he's been missing. So I think it's like 10 years or something like that. He's like exactly like he's like, oh yeah, I gotta make my own lightsaber. I do what I like. It's like that's Ezra. Ezra's like a million miles, and of course, his way of escaping is dressing up as a stormtrooper. I'm like, those things are perfect.
But here's
go ahead.
But even if you haven't seen Rebels, dressing up as a stormtrooper is 100% Star Wars. Yeah. Everything about it was Star Wars. I love that moment. I do feel like they got the Thrawn and I still feel like they got the Thrawn and Ezra a little too easily. Like I felt like they're like I know it wasn't, but it was like it just happened so fast. Like, yeah, we found you. Like what? Like it I don't know. It almost I don't whatever. I just feel like they got to them a little too easily in the series, and then it always felt like I don't know. I think because it's Rebels, there is a little bit of a disconnect, especially for the new viewers of it. I just don't. I want to know. I want to talk to new viewers and see how they feel about actually is kicking ass to it, like how they feel about Ezra and like Sabine. Is like, what was the big deal about Ezra? We never really understood the big deal about Ezra. Like, why did she want to get? Like, it never really got that.
It was just a reason to get there. But then like no end to the Shin and Balin story. I mean.
Again, if we were getting a season 2, like promised a season 2, would we even be like mentioning? Like, it would be like, yeah, it's cool.
It's like it looked like again. The show looks amazing. Like they show up on like standing on like the mountains and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But you're like, so it's like it's almost. I don't want to talk shit about Filoni. I really don't. And it's just like there's like times during this entire episode I'm like, oh, and we'll go into that because we'll get past this part because I think this is as much as I wanted to hold off on this to the end. I think it's important that we do talk about it. It was like I don't think it was a perfect ending. I think it makes me want to watch a second season, but then it's like it's banking too much on. Yeah, we're gonna make a second season. What if they don't? I'm sure they were, but they're like, I'm at the end of this episode. I was like, oh, is the reveal gonna be we get 2 more episodes? Like that would be something. I don't know, but Loki comes out in 2 days, so like they're gonna start thinking about that show as their Disney Plus thing. Great episode. I would give it 8 out of 10. But yeah, like it's just sort of like, well, what? I think we've already said this like 3 episodes ago. It's like, why isn't this just a movie? Because if this was all one movie, it would be. I think we would say okay because we would have had action for 2 hours. Where we're like, whoa, and then it just ends. You're like it has Empire vibes to it. Like Star Wars created this like cliffhanger thing for a reason where you're like, oh my gosh, but the like Empire still has like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like we lose, and then this, like right that I don't know if it lands the thing, but everything up until it, I'm like, I am in. So like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, I really think that this is a stronger finale if we knew about a season 2. Like if they were like, if earlier today or yesterday, they're like, hey, season 2, we're going to do it. Like the writer's strike is over now. You can announce a season 2.
Or end the episode with the story continues in chapter 9, whatever, next season. Or I don't know. Like there was nothing. It was just like,
okay, Kicking Air is in the chat now, and he's asking a question, but I'm going to ignore your question for a second because Kicking Air, I need you to comment on your thoughts of, because he's never seen Rebels. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on Ezra, Sabine, Thrawn, and all that. And now I'll bring it. So let me know your thoughts on there as someone who's never seen it. I'm going to go putting his question up now. He's saying, how does Thrawn successfully coming back impact other shows like The Mandalorian? I think it totally does because but the one thing The Mandalorian season 3 did was they mentioned Thrawn. They had the Shadow Council. They're ready for Thrawn to come back. How they knew about that, we don't know yet. But at least we got that there. And at least we know there's a season 4 of Mandalorian, which maybe this picks up on, which is just weird. Here's the other thing, Brock. It's like they need to stop. And I said this to Sooner Thrawn the other day. They need to stop naming these shows after characters and just call it Star Wars and just be like, this part of Star Wars and that part of Star Wars. Because it's just at some point, it's like people are complaining it's mostly about Sabine. Yeah, it's not really. It's about everybody, but you're calling it Ahsoka.
It's not really about Ahsoka either.
Exactly. It's about like, and none of like Mandalorian season 1 was about him and Grogu. So okay, that worked. Season 2 a little bit. Season 3 not so much. Boba Fett, we all know what happened there. Obi-Wan was about Obi-Wan, but there's a lot going on. I think Obi-Wan is actually of all the titles other than Mandalorian. I think that one kind of worked. But like if you don't pigeonhole yourself to the name of a character, you can expand it a lot more.
Desi does mention my husband has never seen Rebels and he's all in on Thrawn. He thinks Hera is as believable as a general. I'm perfect. There's our answer. It's not like that's the thing. It's just like,
but was he?
If it wins, if the story can grab you, then success, and then we go from there. So, but I was gonna say like on what you were saying there, it's like it's true. It's like perhaps this series is about, and Disney, you just put her up. Disney does have the exact same thing. It's like Thrawn is going to build the First Order. Maybe that's the whole point of the show, because it's like I don't know why we need to know that. Like evil always wins. And they do a good job of pushing the idea, especially in Thrawn, that like even though the rebellion has won, like people are still like, well, I preferred my life in the Empire, so I want that back, regardless of what it means as a whole on the like ethical level of the galaxy. Like I don't know if we really need that explanation, but I'm like, if someone's gonna explain it, like Filoni's gonna kill it, because like. James, like this series, like it looks so good. It looks so good. And all the little, like, I feel like Filoni's just like, I'm going to mess with the internet. And this episode shows that a lot. I don't know. I don't want to jump too far. What are your thoughts?
Let's talk a little bit about Baylan Skull and because now obviously Ray Stevenson is not going to be able to come back to play the role again. So either they're going to have to recast or just forget about that storyline. And I was thinking about this.
I hope not.
But here's the thing: if they didn't, like, this is the one thing that kind of works with his shot in this finale, was it leaves it so wide open. That if you never go back to it, it's like this character, he was a piece of this story until a point, and then he was no longer part of the story, and he went off onto his own. Mm-hmm. And then whatever he did, you can kind of like, you don't necessarily. And look, I'm saying this as a Baylan Skull fanboy. I have this tattoo on my left breast. I'm a big fan. I thought Ray Stevenson was the best part of this series every time he was on the screen. The disappointment that he didn't have a bigger role in this finale, only because of his acting chops. But I'm just like, if it just ended there and we moved on, we never saw him again. I think I would get over it fast because he passed away in real life. And you kind of like, and his story, like, if we never see it, well, he went off looking for something. Something was calling to him. I mean, it'd be nice to know what it is. But, other characters have stopped recurring for, with greater roles and greater paths that they've been on. So there's that. Shin Hati, on the other hand, that's a storyline I need to continue because now she's the leader of the Red Bulls. Like, what's that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I feel like you don't give an actor like that. Oh, okay, Kicking Air says, but just seemed unimpressive to me. Did he say two things? I didn't feel any connection to Ezra, to be honest. Maybe because he came in during the back end of the series. Just because seemed unimpressive to me. That made all the effort to rescue him, and all I think was really him. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's interesting because it's like, yeah, but it's just like Thrawn is cool because he's a guy in a white suit with a blue face and red eyes, and you're like, oh, visually, you're very appealing. But it's just like, and I think he got way more screen time than Ezra did, where it's like, oh, like in the 2 to 3 episodes at the end, he's a tactician, and like he is ruthless, and he will do whatever it takes, and it's like, this is exactly the villain we need. And like this episode, I liked about how like he was just like, there's only one way to stop the Jedi, and that's to have some type of force he relied on the Night Sisters. Were like, I need something above and beyond like tactical thinking. I need something that I cannot do. So like that's like that part made like total sense. But yeah, it's just like you can't create this character of Balin who's like saying like, this is like, we have to change how we do things, which again, it could be just a commentary on Star Wars in general, but it's just like, you wrote all of that. You got us hooked. We're like, oh, interesting. Like, he's not really a villain. Maybe he's not a villain, but never really explain it. Maybe that's
he killed a lot of people.
He did a great job. No, I'm not. There's nothing.
No. Balin, he killed a lot of people. He's definitely a villain.
Oh yeah. But you know what I mean. Like, it's just like, there's more to his plan than we're seeing, and it's like, oh, so it's like, it just seems a lot to throw that in. So I would think, outside of the fact that Ray Stevenson died, like season 2 is going to have a huge storyline with these two.
Yeah, I mean,
why is it not 2 more episodes then? Why not have it? I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't understand it either, because like they've all been 8 episodes except Obi-Wan was 6, but Obi-Wan doesn't count because that was a movie chopped up, right?
Yeah.
But Andor was 12. Andor also, though, and I mentioned this on the Versus, that show cost $250 million to make. That's a lot of money for a streaming show that we pay $10 a month to watch. Like, it's a lot of money, and I don't think people were joining it just to watch Andor either. Like, I just don't think so. It was fantastic. So I don't understand why they're hooked on the 8. I feel like this was what Filoni wanted to do in the first season, was set this up. Again, though, all of like for me, this is a personal thing. I don't know. Let me know in the chat, Brock. We kind of talked about, but just like if I knew there was a season 2, like what if we don't get a season 2? Does it continue in Mandalorian season 4 and we all get upset because we've moved away from Din Djarin and Grogu and now we're into like Sabine and Ahsoka? Like, are they taking over that? I don't understand. Like, I wish we knew what was going on. Yeah. Like I brought this up. Also, I think it was like I'm not a big cable TV watcher. Like I used to watch a lot of it, but the one thing that it did better than HBO does and better than streaming does is I knew September shows were coming back. They finished in May. They came back in September or early October, whatever it was. Now I'm like, oh, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, the kids are going to be 40 by the time we get the last season. It's like, when is it coming? Just tell me when it's coming back. I take your time and make it good, but just give me like an idea. Otherwise, I kind of lose it. And this episode for me again was like, it would have been so much stronger had they been like, season 2 is coming in 2025 or whatever. It would suck that we have to wait. We're like, but at least I knew it was coming. Now I'm like, maybe we won't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems odd. It's just like the flex of like, oh, we'll make a season 2. I mean, which with Filoni, he probably can make that happen, but I don't know. Is Bluey actually on Disney Plus? I feel like I looked that up.
Sooner than the statue did look like Balin. There's a lot going. Like it did look kind of like him. Okay,
then let's get into it. Let's get into the Star Wars of this episode. Okay, so the title, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Get out of here.
I love that title.
Honestly, didn't clock until you said something, so I had to go back and check it out. Everything looks awesome in this. Like seeing Morgan become a Night Sister. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Though, like, the way her markings are like this, it's like if you ever watch It's Always Sunny where they huff paint, it looked like she was huffing paint at some point out of like a thing. But like what was the big thing? There was a couple of like Easter eggs that I was like, oh, Filoni. I texted you and I can't remember what it was. But the big one, let's talk about the statue. You recognize that, right?
Yeah. It was Balin's face. It was the Punisher, Warzone.
No.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, freaking Filoni's just like, yeah, let's just drop the father and the son in here. I didn't see the daughter in there.
That's where I thought Filoni was going with Balin from the beginning. Was that stuff?
Yeah, that makes sense. And like him, I was just like, of course. It's like he doesn't even have to do anything more with it. He can just leave it at that. Like, oh, by the way, I mentioned Mortis in this. And of course, we get the owl, of course. But like, I just like, freaking Filoni, like, seriously. I remember what it was now. She gets the sword. It's the sword of Taslin. I can't remember. Yep. Anyways, the Night Mother chief that we see in Clone Wars. I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's your thing. Yeah, of course, the Ahsoka owl is a daughter, but like, why no mountain statue? Just the owl just hangs out, and that's that. I again, this is why Talzin, thank you. This is why I'm gonna rewatch it because I'm like, ooh, that was beautiful.
I should have, it's funny because when I watched the trailers like way back, so in April when they first released them. I always got like when they were in the map room, it was always like, oh man, this is like World Between Worlds and Mortis vibes. I should have, but I'm not a big fan. I should have gone back and watched all the Mortis and all the World Between Worlds stuff. You watch World Between Worlds, but I should have because I feel like there was so much in there. Like Filoni, the one that, like all the criticism that we just had for it, you can't dispute that this felt the most Star Warsy of all the Star Wars that we've gotten. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like overload. It was kind of like it was Clone Wars Rebels in live action. Like we got all this crazy stuff, like the witches. People complain, like we got things. It's like, how are we getting all this lore of Star Wars thrown into this? It was too much. I don't know, but it felt great. And again, I don't know, the lightsaber. Every time they ignited a lightsaber, I was like, I just love Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just like. Hu Yang talking is like, I'm in. Him talking about anything. I love how they're like, how old are you? I'm like, he's a droid. He's from the Jedi Temple. Why are you shocked? But like, I love that scene where he's making his lightsaber and all that, and just like, I kept this because I figured he'd need this again. I'm like, it is just so perfect. It's like. Yeah, you're like, maybe that's fan service and all that, but I'm like, it makes so much sense how it works. Like, it's a perfect example of how, like, Filoni gets it. It's just like, the Star Wars universe, it could exist in this way. Like, it was great.
You bring up fan service, and that's something that it comes up a lot. It's like, but what is fan service? Like, if it like fan service what is it when it is in world? Like if because Filoni always said this, and I completely get it. It's like if you have a character, and they did this with Saw Gerrera. Was Saw Gerrera fan service in Rogue One? Like if you have a character already in existence, or even in Legends, that fits the role that you need in that you have, why wouldn't you use that character? Like if you have that character, why wouldn't you use that character that people already know and love? If it makes sense, obviously. And so that's why I don't understand when people argue, oh, it's fan service, Sometimes, but I feel like a lot of stuff we've gotten, especially on this series, has been fan service because Rebels was the same. Rebels operated the same way. Like when Lando and stuff showed up on Rebels, it's like, oh, here we go. Then you watch the episode, you're like, man, this actually works. It makes complete sense why the characters are showing up. And Princess Leia in Lost Stars, that cameo she had in Lost Stars, you're like, oh, no, that makes complete sense. 3PO in the last episode made complete sense. It's not fan service when the character or prop, whatever you bring in, fits the scene and the story. So there's a fine line there, and I think they walked it perfectly on this one.
This one, like, I feel like we've always said this about a lot of different things that you and I watch in general. It's like, oh, this is a commentary to like what the fans want, or like what the internet's demanding. It's like, I feel like a lot of things he did in this season was like, oh, internet, you think you know? Like, still don't know what is the Inquisitor that was a smoke monster? Mordred?
Marok?
We don't know what Enoch is. I mean, we have a general idea of like those stormtroopers are probably not alive. I don't know. Which I think that was super cool. Like the second those troopers start getting up, I was like, oh, this is that zombie stormtrooper thing. What was it called? Dark Forces?
Dark Troopers.
That's
my Halloween. 7 years ago. I used to talk about every Halloween. I bring that up.
Exactly.
So in a couple weeks, get ready for me to talk about it again.
Whoa.
Can I say side Akbar? Because I thought the music in that scene was great. But do you know what this episode did that I said? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Remember the episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was in this Inquisitor base and he hid Leia under his robe and they tried to sneak out and it was goofy and funny and everything.
Yeah.
And they started fighting and I was like, the music sucked in that scene. That was how I felt. I felt the music sucked. And I was like, you know what would have been great if they would have used a Star Wars cue. And you know what this episode did when they did that forced jump?
Yeah.
That music was so. I was like, I freaking love this music. That music is so perfect. If you've got it, it's a cameo. If you've got it, use it. Like it just fits. So I thought the music in this series, but also this episode, was so perfect and all well placed.
Yeah, no, it's like I think it can go toe to toe with any other of the shows. I think it could be number one for just best visually and I don't know how you put audio and video all together. Like technically, like I think this is like the best product so far. Like I don't know which show had the best music. I don't know. They all kind of, but like you're saying, like in this, I agree.
I would say
they used it better.
Yeah, like the placement of the classic. It was what I thought Obi-Wan. There's a couple times Obi-Wan I thought lacked it. Like, and I've never thought that watching Mandalorian. I think because the Mandalorian theme is so different, and it's not about Jedi. It's not that story.
Yeah.
And like when that music played when they jumped, I'm like that. Like I was like perfectly. Like I was just like that is Star Wars because that music cue is Star Wars. It felt like Star Wars. It was the Force theme, right? It's the Force put like everything about it just came together. And that was, I'm not knocking Obi-Wan for it. It's just like when I watched this scene in Obi-Wan, I just remember like vividly, like, why didn't they use Star Wars music in this? Like, that was my one thought. I'm like, you have it. That's where you should go. And I thought this episode, when it came in, that wasn't on my mind at all. But when it happened, I was like, oh, that is perfectly executed music.
I think it's just like he created all these really interesting characters. Obviously, our cast that we already know, all the Rebels characters, Thrawn, perfect. Hu Yang, really awesome. Actually, Shin and Balin, amazing additions. Morgan is like, in. And just look at what else is there. No, I mean, those characters are solid. And it's just like, but it seemed like the whole season was like, who are we going to look at on both sides? Like, who's the villain and who's the good guy? And who is the story about and who isn't the story about? Like, it's just sort of like, I can smell it that like there's something in the works that make this all worthwhile, and perhaps that's where Star Wars wants to go, where we're like, oh, maybe we like. I think what's always intact is like you're kind of thrown into a story with Star Wars. You're just thrown into it, and you're like, figure it out. And like I think that is the magic of the show. So like maybe that's how it works. I don't know. But yeah, I'm like I think Heidi just said something a couple mentions back where it's like, well, is Balin does he know about the whole Mortis thing? Is he trying to be the father and he's trying to set up Shin as the daughter? Like, yeah, that would sound awesome. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe she's the son and like perhaps like Ezra's the daughter or whatever. If you want to get, I don't think we should get too deep into that, but you're like, yeah, right, there you go. That's exactly explaining why it's a bigger deal for another season to explain that. Yeah. Or it's just a way of them getting off the planet. Really, at the end of this episode, I'm like, oh yeah, just wait for like the Purgles to show up again. You're good. Like they blew up the TIE fighters, like damaged Ahsoka's ship, and they're like, we're back in it again. I'm like, oh, okay. Things weren't as dire as I thought they would be.
That, you know what, and that's the one thing with this show is nothing really seemed that dire. Like finding Ezra and Thrawn, it was like they just did. Like,
we're in.
Yeah, like we got him. Okay, well, fine, I guess. Yeah, I think. Anyway, Desi's saying that she never thought that Balin was a true villain. Even
I agree.
Though he slaughtered an entire ship. It's because Ray Stevenson was so damn good in the role.
Yeah.
And then there's Desi also said the only problem that she had was that Sabine just figured out how to move a lightsaber and then immediately knew how to force push Ezra on the ship. But then sooner Thrawn's coming in hot with maybe because it was the home planet of witches and the Force is stronger. I think I jokingly tweeted out an hour at 8 o'clock that in an hour Sabine will use the Force. That was what I jokingly tweeted out because I think we all knew what was happening.
Yeah, I
thought what went through my mind was when she was trying to move the lightsaber and it was rocking back and forth. I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if we think it's her, but then Ezra like grabs it and like totally like
oh, you're doing it, yeah.
But I didn't. I did. Okay, so it did cross my mind. I'm like, well, she's throwing him pretty fast after. But then I was like, it's Star Wars. I'm going along with this ride on this one. I forgave that one. Personally, I don't know. What did you have any thoughts about her being able to force push so fast after?
I was like, okay, great. I've been pretty adamant. I'm like, please don't be a Jedi. But I mean, the explanation in this episode, I'm like, okay, that kind of works. But then like. Could we not get flashbacks, like not even full flashbacks for Sabine, but like show her like just flashes of color to just explaining like she's having like PTSD about Mandalore. I'm like what is it the invasion of Mandalore? What is the battle called? The Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah, the Siege of Mandalore. Yeah,
Siege of Mandalore. It's like. Why are we not seeing it? Like, why are we so, I mean, we have seen it and we haven't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it seems so glazed over, right? And it's just like, it like informs so many things. And it's just like, why are we avoiding it? I'm curious.
I was happy though that Ezra asked the droid, whose name I cannot pronounce to save my life, about like what happened with Sabine and Ahsoka. And then the droid mentioned it, and I was like, "That's a really good explanation." Like, finally, because we kind of, like we got it. I'm like, it took 8 episodes, but we got there. We finally got that. I think I would have liked a little bit more about the separation of Thrawn and Ezra. I know I know it's kind of like, well, he got the Night Sisters and all that, so Ezra probably went into hiding. Yeah. But like, what else happened? Like, what was going on with those two on that planet for so
and
long?
Ezra is just never shook by the fact he's trapped with the potato bugs for like 10 years. Like, it's just like, I'm all for the character sort of being like, even though he's trapped, he's always optimistic, but just like, that's a long time. It's a real long time to not go crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Seems weird. Like, it's like, he's the only way that Thrawn can escape is if someone comes over, but it's just like, he's still able to communicate. Like, I know there's an explanation. I understand. I know like there's a whole thing, but it's just like it's as if like it like they need this what is it, hyperdrive, massive hyperdrive to get the whole ship back. But it's just like, I mean, it just didn't seem, again, it didn't seem dire. Like, because it's just like, oh, we're here. We just had to build something. We're here. We're talking. And don't worry, we got all these, like, army ready for you back home. Like okay. I think Thrawn in the regular galaxy is a threat no matter what. But, like, it just, but then now it's like, so what is season 2? We're gonna like watch Thrawn come to power in the First Order, like, or whatever, and then we're also gonna sit on the other planet as they try to figure out how to get back home, if that is the end result.
My guess is Ezra will warn about Thrawn,
yeah,
and then he'll tell Hera, "Hey, they're out in this galaxy. Get in the mouth of a Purgle and let's go save them." Well, he'll say that, and then like you'd imagine like Zeb would get into the picture now. We saw
that's the first season. Like, we're just repeating what we did in the first season.
Yeah, but how else do you get out of it? I didn't make the rules. I'm just
I'm thinking both. It's going to be two. It's going to be 2 stories happening at the same time, and then it's again going to be 8 episodes. And it's just like, why are we like? Because Thrawn being a threat like that. That carries an entire season. It technically kind of gets us through this entire season. We're like, we gotta stop him. It was like, we didn't stop him. I'm like, shit.
Look, it's a Disney Plus Star Wars show. I think what you said earlier about the Purgles is what's going to happen. We're going to start being like, how are they going to get off of this? Like, the Purgles are coming. Let's go in, and they're going to do that, and it won't even matter that they're stranded on this planet anymore.
It just seems
odd.
How
it. Yeah, I don't make the rules. I don't know.
But anyways, again, I like this series a lot. It's high up there, but it's just, people were mentioning it. We haven't said anything. Force Ghost Anakin at the end of this episode. Am I crazy where I'm like, I don't really get, like, Force Ghost showing up doesn't really do anything for me anymore, because it's like just a guy shows up. I'm like, it was cute. It was very poetic. The ending is like, I thought I saw something. And in the distance, some light in the distance, or shadows in the stars, or whatever, and like we assume Ahsoka does see that Anakin is standing right there. So, I mean, very cool, but like, it's not an ending for me anymore. I don't know what you think.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I know I like what. I don't know. I love the show, but yeah, it needed to be either longer or a second season, or it needed to be a movie. Like, it needed something in there. Because the Balin thing, even though I said if we never go any further, I'd be okay with that only because Ray Stevenson passed away. If he didn't, then it's like, why did without a promise of a second season, what the hell was the point of him doing anything that he did? It was such an awesome character.
Yep.
And then at the end, even Shin, Shin Hati, wasn't it? She she just decided not to go back to the ship and stay on the planet. I don't what's she gonna do?
I don't know.
I'm like it's her, Pumbaa, and a bunch of ready. Like, I don't understand what is going to go on there. But anyway, I don't.
Yeah, and it just seems odd, but. I don't know. I think Filoni deserves a movie? Yes, he does. I would argue he just made a movie.
Definitely.
But like, I don't. It's great. No, fair episode. I don't want to say great.
So, but
yeah,
the Force Ghost thing though, it's like I like. I'm a huge Anakin fan, obviously, so I was okay with the Force Ghost at the end though, because also. He played a part in the episode. Like, he was in that episode.
Yeah.
Like, he was there. So, and then at the end, he kind of see that, okay, Ahsoka has kind of grown into her own at this point. I think that's what it was all supposed to be. It's kind of like watching on. Yeah.
One thing I was going to mention when we were talking about earlier, if the episode with World Between World episodes in Rebels, and Ezra is able to get there by finding it's like a sculpture in a wall that is like those three the characters from Mortis. So it's like they are attached to the world between worlds. So it sounds like we might go back. I don't know. That feels like a cop out, though. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, oh, we have. It's like getting the magic flute in the third level of Super Mario. It's like, well, if you hold down, you can go through this secret passageway and you can go to the giant land. I'm like,
yeah, but you don't go to Giant Land. You get the 2 whistles and you go straight to the Dark World at level 8, and then you go straight to That's how you do it, Brock. Come on. No, but okay. Do you think there was a chance? Because remember when season 2 of Mandalorian came on and Bobbert Iger was like, well, we're gonna do all these spin-off shows, and then we got like Ahsoka showed up and Bo-Katan showed up, and we got the Ahsoka spin-off show, and then we got the Boba Fett spin-off show. Do you think that there was a chance that we would get a Baylan Skull spin-off show where we went on this journey with him to find what he was looking for? Could that, we should have made that in Every Time with the Odds. But do you think there was a chance that we would have got a Baylan Skull spin-off?
I think it would be more likely to get a all Baylan episode rather than a miniseries. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a totally great idea. I just don't see him doing it.
Do you recast Baylan, or do you just forget about his character now?
I think you recast him because there's nothing you can do about that. And Lord knows they have recast people. I think it's all dependent on how emotional people are about it, right? That's what it really boils down to. It's like, you don't really recast Carrie Fisher, though I was all on board if you're going to do it. I think they did a good job in Rise of Skywalker. But, like, certain things you just don't do. But, like, it's like, at the end of this season, do we feel like we don't want to disrespect Ray Stevenson's memory because he did a great job. But the character is very, very interesting. And wouldn't you want the character to continue on? Because you're like, well, I want to know more. Like, perhaps we got a worse Star Wars movie because we're like, well, Carrie Fisher passed away. We can't do the original story we're going to do, as they kept saying they were going to do. So, I don't know. It's like, I personally think it's like, continue on. CG his face onto another actor. We've done it. And Lord knows Disney scanned his entire body and voice. They can make it happen. But then that's the whole strike issue that we're having here with AI and CG and all that. So I don't know. My personal opinion is recast him because, like, he's an actor. I hope, loves everything he acts in. So he would want the art to continue on.
Yeah, I think you got to recast him too. Disney's saying she doesn't think they'll recast him, but I think they will if they're going to continue that story. Again, if they decide just to stop it, then they're not going to. But if they decide to continue the story, you have to recast him, and then you have to find somebody that's going to fit it. And maybe you change the. I don't know what you do. You change the character a little bit, make it fit whoever's playing him, and then they changed Dumbledore. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
These things have happened in the past, not in Star Wars necessarily, other than the Carrie Fisher incident with her passing. But, like, again, and they did a good job. Did we see a different movie? But I think what you're saying is they did. I think they were in a tricky position with Princess Leia in that one because there was one to go, and it's like, do you recast for one movie and make it or do you just kind of use Carrie Fisher in the final role and kind of bring it that way? And I kind of agree with you that I think they made the right choice in doing that. Whether you like it or not is a different story, but I think they made the right decision in actually using Carrie Fisher for that one. Did Ray Stevenson sign over his likeness? And then Disney is saying she thinks that he'll come back in a cartoon comic.
Yeah, which we've already said that before because, like, the character was just so strong right off the bat. Like, he'd be stupid not to.
That's my concern, though, is like he's not going to come back in any more TV. And but we're going to get in a book. That's my concern. Is like, this is what Baylan was looking for. Well, I know you're a big reader, Brock, but the 75 people that are reading these Star Wars books
exactly.
compared to watching it, it's like freaking cares.
Yeah.
People are gonna. I don't know. That's one thing that we'll have to wait and see on is how they handle that. But we also don't know if they're ever going to do any more episodes of the show, which really sucks. Really sucks. Almost as bad as the Blue Jays playing Minnesota today. Almost. You're happy about this though. You're like, lose.
Nothing matters till they make the first round of playoffs. So like, this is not a Rebel Scum Jade cast. Like, anyways, I really don't want to shoot baseball in October, but whatever. Freaking Disney does he? Get out of here, Cape Side Bay. It's just another time with Cape Side Bay. Why don't you buy it? I got a copy and they are sending or what? I don't know. Who cares? James wrote a book. You should read it. He put a lot. There's blood on page 7 and 8 because he blood, sweat, and teared into this book.
There is a lot of bloodshed in it.
Blood.
Oh, yeah, the mayor. One of the mayor's name is Orville. If you're a fan of the Orville, I wrote this before that show existed. That's how old this is. Ava closed the door quietly. Anyway, I should. But you've all been duped. I'm doing the audible version of the book.
Read by James Rosile.
Jane Doe lay in room 249. That's true. 249.
It was a good audiobook, but midway through it just becomes his podcast. I'm very confused.
Bye, Heidi.
Bye, Heidi. But anyways, yeah.
I'm trying to write the odds, but you keep talking. It's like we're doing a podcast or something.
What are the odds that there's a season 2? I'm going to go full Brock on it because who knows?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to the odds, Brock. Let's go to the odds.
Let's do it.
Pull up the Patreon. It's brought to you by Patreon.
Patreon. Do you like what we do? Do you like it when we actually do episodes right after the show? I think it's great, but like sometimes it doesn't work out that way. If you would like to support us, why don't you go to patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast and help us out because we would greatly appreciate it because we love doing this. We love talking with you. And when you come to support us, you become one of the wonderful few that we talk about every single episode. People like Heidi Feder, executive producer, Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Randy Kenobi, Mary Kristen Aton, Jeff Wilson, Phil Staniforth, Rez, Scott D, Josh Price,
Matt W, Frank Perkins, Neil Lowry, Cosmic Girl 02, Gleek Play 1, Disney, Desi, Charlotte, Dale Erdman, and the Deadheads. Like, everyone's saying goodnight to Heidi. Like, no one ever says goodnight to me. No one. Never Tell Me the Odds. Thrawn will see the creation of Snoke, Brock. Never Tell Me the Odds. Balin is Snoke. Big theory out there. Balin is Snoke.
I'm gonna go 30% because that ball's already rolling. Maybe he has a hand in it. I don't know. I'm cloning with Thrawn. I don't know.
I don't think Thrawn would be into it. I think he'd be like totally against it. So I'm gonna go 7% because I also think it's stupid. We all know Keanu Loy is Snoke. Hello, Jonathan Davis. I'm going to delete one of my odds, Brock, and we're going to go on with Disney. Desi side. Never Tell Me the Odds. Ahsoka and Sabine don't come back until after the sequels and show up in the upcoming Rey movie. I'm of two minds of this, so I'll let you go first if you want.
It makes absolutely no sense if they did it, but I would be all in. So I'm going to go that it actually happens. I'm going to go 30%, but 100% I'm in. It would make no sense, but I'm in.
Yeah, I'm going to go 20%, but I'm also in. And you know what? If Filoni had a little more, if he was involved in that one, it'd be 100%. 100%, as they say.
Hondo.
Where was Hondo? Like, of all the characters, imagine Brock. Here's how they get off and out of this galaxy back into the Star Wars galaxy. Hondo is just traveling through space. And he goes, "What are you doing here?" And he just meets Hondo. randomly. He's like, "These are my turtle friends." That was a terrible Hondo voice.
I
I have
mean,
to go to Galaxy's Edge.
like he's a weak way. Like all you have to do is put him in some kind of like tiny boat, like ship shaped like a little like rowboat, and he's just chasing Purgles. And I'm like, this is just like a Moby Dick reference waiting to happen. So it's like Queequeg.
Thrawn was into cloning in the books, so maybe he's the one that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he just creates. He's right. Yeah, that's right. Because Shin Hati's a clone of Luke, also. Never tell me the odds. Ezra will be the most powerful Jedi of all time.
Sorry, say that again.
Ezra will become the most powerful Jedi of all time.
0%. That's the other thing. Like, he's back in the regular galaxy, so what happens to him that all of a sudden he's gone? I don't know. I love all the memes that are happening because of this show where, like, it's like all this stuff is happening in another galaxy with all these Jedi running around, and Luke's just like building his new academy. He's like, "Who, me? I'm not doing anything. I'm just hanging out."
Yeah, because at this point, Luke's running around with Lando at this point, right? Because Battlefront, he's looking for artifacts at this point, so he probably doesn't even know what's going on. He's like, I hightailed it out of there, but he's building an academy. Yeah, you got to wonder if I don't think we'll see Luke. That's a question for another day. How about that? We'll leave it at that. And we're going to do a forethought. Never tell me the odds. Well, we get season 2.
What are the odds? What are the odds? Season 2, full proc. What are the odds that this is just Filoni's way of like getting Thrawn back into there and being like, "No, we're just gonna tell you, heir to the Empire." And I'm like, "Oh." And it's like, we're going to create a Mara Jade. They're like,
somebody said like they thought Shin Hati was going to be the Mara Jade to Ezra Bridger. So, I mean, they could use Ezra as Luke if they're doing it. But again, as Disney's saying, that Ezra's got to be gone by the sequels because Luke is the last Jedi. You know what? How about this? How about they just retcon the sequels, redo them all?
Yeah.
Just throw them in the dumpster, light it on fire.
Yeah.
Clip this. We need views. How we hated Star Wars.
Take all their blasters away and put walkie-talkies in their hands. Perfect.
I love Hondo. All right, here we go. We're gonna go. Thank you all the patrons, by the way. You guys are the greatest. We're going to go top 5 now. Top 5 moments from the episode, the finale episode.
From the episode?
Well, I said season, but do you want to do season or you want to do episode? Because I can't think of the whole season right now. I can't even think of the episode. I've got like 1, 2. I've got 3 written down. What happened in this? Was anything happen in this episode? You know what? I'm going to do this just to piss Disney off. Anakin Skywalker Force Ghost appearing to Rey. My number 5 is Balin. Just because when he's on the screen, I'm like, this is awesome. And where he was awesome.
Then I'll change that to my number 5 as well. Like just the Mortis whole, like I was just like at that part, I was like, Filoni, you scamp, you.
Skywalker's Academy. Yep, that's both of our number 5s. Is the Mortis at the end. That was awesome. My number 4 is actually Shin Hati holding the lightsaber up. Like it was just like because you know what I was thinking. I was Kathleen Kennedy said to somebody making a Star Wars movie years ago. This might have been, I think it was Jon Favreau when he was doing it. She said something like, "You should know who the character is by their silhouette." And I was like, in that moment, I'm like, that is just a great shot. I don't really know what the hell's going on. I don't know what the point of it is, but I'm all in on this. I was a little disappointed that those two didn't have anything to do with the finale. It was almost like they were an afterthought. Yeah. But I was also like, the show, like they serve their purpose. Like they could have just been killed off by Thrawn. Like you know what I mean? Like they were the characters in an 80s action movie that would have done cocaine and they got killed. And then the bad guy, like when the Joker kills Bob, they were the Bob. They were the one that the bad guy kills to show how bad the bad guy is. That's who they were. We got a decapitation, Brock. I forgot all about this. We got Everyone's like, Disney doesn't cut off limbs, and then Dave Filoni's like, I cut off heads. So yeah, my number 4 is Shinhati.
My number 4 is going to be the Morgan becoming a full Night Sister. That was really cool to see that whole procedure and the like reference to Taslin with the sword. Like,
yeah, that was so good. That's not on my top 5 because I forgot about it. That was cool to see though. That sword was wicked. My number 3, and this is for all the haters out there, Anakin Skywalker, Force Ghost. Anakin shows up, I'm happy.
The dialogue for that scene is nice. Like, just like what she says. And you're like, oof, nice. My number 3 is going to be Zombie Troopers. Like, that was great. That was awesome. That was like video game stuff where it's just like, oh, you think you're done? Here comes a whole wave of new enemies. Oh, and of course, it's just like, hey, close that door by destroying the controls. It always works. So it'll work the way you want it to at that moment.
I thought she was going to use her like grappling hook thing to do it, but she did that was fun.
Are doors that complex that you can't just go boop? Like they are just zombies, so they're not going to open the door.
And it was weird because that was like a temple in a galaxy far, far away that should have different technology, but it had the same technology. Yeah. It was great.
Don't even worry about it.
Skywalker Academy is saying they think they're good. He thinks that they're going to recast Ray Stevenson. My number 2 is it's Night Troopers versus Ezra, Sabine, and Ahsoka. Let's go. Because I love that moment. Like you said, it was very video gamey. It was fun. I love stormtroopers and I love lightsabers. And I was like, oh, I love everything about this. Lightsabers are the best. And there was 3 colors of lightsabers going at it in a scene.
Yeah.
We've never had that before in Star Wars. So that was awesome.
My number 2 is going
I lied. We had 3 colors going on in Attack of the Clones. Purple, blue, green. My bad. Go on.
My number 2 is going to be the lightsaber / ghost sword battle between Ahsoka and Morgan. Like, it's also like, that's another thing where I was just like, oh, so Morgan's just really good at that sword she just got 10 minutes ago. I'm like, okay, but it works.
But they established that in Mandalorian season 2 when she has her staff and she's using the Mandalorian staff thing with Ahsoka. She fights with that, remember?
Is she in that episode too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I strike that from the record, Your Honor. That's right.
Honorable mention is Ezra wearing stormtrooper attire.
Yeah.
That's my 1A. That's my 1B. My 1A is Morgan versus Ahsoka. Lightsaber fight. She broke one of Ahsoka's lightsabers. I thought the fight was awesome. It was fantastic. Again, for me, it was the sequel to the episode that you forgot about.
Oh, that makes so much sense now. Yeah. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, so she was good. This fight, though, I loved every second of it. I love that sword, that witch sword. It was awesome, and that's my number 1.
My number 1 is Ezra building his lightsaber and Hu Yang talking about Kanan. I'm like,
oh, nice.
It's just stuff like that. You just drop it in, and maybe it's simple and it's just overdone, but like just written the right way, you're like, I'm in. Perfect. It's exactly Alec Guinness saying, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars. Just a monologue, and you're like, I'm in.
Yeah, and Jonathan's bringing up, I did also love when the droid said, he didn't even say Kanan, he goes Caleb. He just called him Caleb. I love that as well.
Which regular people are not going to get. Like, people are not going to get that. Like,
but that might be small enough that they don't need to get it.
Yeah, I mean, the names are so close, but still.
Yeah, they don't need to get it. I think, like, again, this episode had, like, I could have done 100 top 5 episodes in this. Top 5 moments from this episode. It was so good. But again, it just give me a second season. Suna Thrawn's top 5 are Morgan chases the Night Sister, Anakin Force Ghost, Ahsoka versus Morgan, Sabine is not alone. You Are Not Alone, and Thrawn's speech was so good. Oh yeah, the Thrawn speech. Thrawn was so good. I think he's getting overshadowed by everything else because he's just so stoic to me.
Yeah.
It's like I like the glitz and the glamour of Star Wars, like lightsabers. If it's shiny and you put it in my face, I'm like, hey, Michael Bay movies are great. Like that's how I am. Whereas he was a Richard Linklater movie. Like I was like, oh, that's great.
It's just like this episode was like a cake where you're like, oh, I can't wait to eat this cake. Everything on it looks amazing. And then you take a bite and it's like, it still tastes good, but it's not the flavor you expected. And you're like, It's like I had vanilla in my head, but it was chocolate. And I'm like, oh, that like when that happens to you, you're like, it's still good. But you're like, I think that's gonna be a lot of people's problems, especially with the Balin and Shinhati thing, where they're like, Balin's looking for Abeloth, Balin's looking for this. It's like Balin's not looking for anything that you're expecting. It was clearly the Mortis gods. I thought that from the beginning it was gonna be because of all the imagery we got of Mortis throughout the entire season. And it ended up being kind of that, but there's no, who knows what they're gonna do. I'm sure he's gonna change it to. If it was a scenario like you said, where they've announced season 2, or even like tomorrow they announce, oh, by the way, you're getting Ahsoka season 1 part 2 in 6 months. We shot it 10 years ago. Like that would make a little bit more sense. Like Stranger Things did that, but then also Stranger Things starts a story and ends a story, and then links the next season together somehow. Like I don't know. I'm all in. We're going to be talking about this for the next month for sure, because it's just
I got to rewatch this. Like we just watched this episode. Barely had time to digest it. I'm going to rewatch. I think with Aaron Aaron does want to watch it now, I think. And I think because she knows she's a big Anakin fan as well. And I think she knows that he makes an appearance. So I think that's why. So we'll probably watch the whole thing. So I have a better understanding, because Heidi said, who's gone now, but Heidi said she watched Mandalorian season 3 with her sister, like binge watched the entire thing basically like a movie, and she said it worked way better, which was something that I always kind of felt with that season while we watched it. That's why I talked about it every week, and I feel like this show's the same. This works better when you watch it, although there's still no ending though. But I feel like it worked better all together. And the Ezra thing is still something that I'm very curious about, because we never really, what it is before we go, Brock, with Ezra. I'll hear your thoughts. So we never heard in this show why Ezra was so special. Just Sabine liked Ezra, and she was like a sister to him. Like we never really understood anything about Ezra until we got to him 7 episodes in.
I guess maybe after this episode, knowing that she lost her entire family in the Siege of Mandalore, that the only people she has left is the ghost crew, right? So perhaps there's well, I know where Zeb is, I know where Hera is, and I guess I know where Ahsoka is, but then I don't know where Ezra is, and I can possibly save that. I guess it's sort of like she knows she's good with some people are dead, and some people don't want to talk to her, but she's like, there's one person left that I can possibly save. Maybe, I don't know. That's a leap. Yeah, which happened in this episode. So I guess it's a leap. You just gotta take a leap of faith.
I wonder if it would have been stronger had we learned that information sooner about Sabine. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it would have been stronger if she showed up in Mandalorian and they're like, everyone you know is dead, and she's like, I gotta go find Ezra. Anyway, Brock, let's wrap this up. We've been talking for an hour. We'll be back next week when the Jays are playing at home against Tampa Bay. Don't say Devil Rays. The Jays just suck. I can't figure out if the Jays or the Leafs are the most disappointing sports team that I root. I mean, I root for the Jets, but in New York, but that's. Don't talk about that. The Leafs or the Jays, who's a more disappointing team? It's the Raptors.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I would love to see the World Series come back to Toronto. I'd love to work a World Series, but not with this team. It'd be embarrassing because when you talk about World Series, it's this game won this, and this signing of this player is they can break it down how it works. And it's what would be oh, you remember that pitcher that just completely lost his mojo mid-season and now is completely gone from the team? It's this year has been weird. It's they're a team that should do it, but like, how many wild card teams win the World Series? I don't think any. I'm sure there's one. I mean, Baltimore had a great year. Atlanta's had a great year. I would argue those are the two teams that should play against each other, which I don't think they can.
Marlins twice, Angels, Red Sox won the World Series. Florida, Marlins when they were Florida, Angels, Red Sox, Cardinals, Giants, Nationals.
There you go. I stand corrected.
Blue Jays in 2023. Yo, Blue Jays, if they could hit the ball, it would just be nice if they could hit the ball.
Oh, they gotta win the next two games, otherwise they can just
hibernate the winter. I was like, you know what? I hope they get Minnesota. And then when they got Minnesota, I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. And Daryl was like, why? And I said, because Minnesota sucks. Jays suck worse. They're like, they find a way to make bad teams look better. It's so
because like I think the Twins just broke their streak of never winning
18 games in a row.
Yeah.
Yes, so. Raptors have won the most recent title in Toronto, but now they are the laughingstock of everything.
You see, in Toronto, we hate our teams until they're winning. Then we go crazy.
Yeah, but we love our teams. But if you knock my team, I knock your teeth out. That's what happens. I will talk smack about my teams, but you can't. The rules. I'm wearing a Jays hat. I should. My truck was made in Minnesota.
Cool.
Yeah, just letting you know, it has a sticker on the back window that has the Twin Cities. All right, everyone, thank you. The Jays will win. I've foreseen it. My Indians traded everyone away. I hate Tito. All right. Fair enough. All right, this has been a lot of fun. Brock, anything else you want to say?
No. Go by Cape Side Bay. Like, what is it called? And go to Limelight Candles and buy some candles. Well, bam. Can't see shit, but yeah, Limelight with a Y. Lime.
So
lime. Pumpkin caramel.
Yeah. Oh, this is the espresso one. Smells so good. She's going to a market this weekend to sell her candles. Yeah, if you're in Campbellford.
Ontario.
It's actually a really good brewery. A very good brewery. I'm going to be so drunk by noon. Two wardens of Hillsbury, Ranger Henry Carter and Deputy Bentley Trundle, set out to find the boy who has vanished without a trace. It's not even really what it's about, but it's on the back of the book. You got to figure out what it's about. Cape Side Bay, Jeffrey said. Look, the character says the name of the book in the...
Your virtual background just doesn't add to this. There's a cat.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Rangers lost by one. Everybody, thank you so much. Buy my book. And until next time, Brock, you were always scum.
Rebel scum.
Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.